It was late at tea night during a family trip with my parents and sister. Suddenly, my daughter grabbed my arm, her voice trembling. "Mom, hide in the closet." Now. Confused, I slipped inside the closet as she shut the doors. A moment later, we heard the sound of our hotel room door unlocking. The Minarets Resort, nestled in the Adirondack Mountains, was like a magical castle that transformed from summer green to autumn crimson and then to winter white. When we arrived that Saturday afternoon, the large windows in the front lobby framed a breathtaking painting of majestic deer? Olivia asked excitedly, pressing her nose against the window. "Yes, honey. There's lots of wildlife here." Seeing my daughter's delighted face made me feel that choosing this trip was the right decision. As a nurse with irregular hours including night shifts, I often struggled to spend quality time with Olivia. Every day, I feel the challenges of raising a daughter alone while continuing to work. "Linda, leave your luggage there. The porter will carry it for you," my mother Martha said with an elegant gesture. She always looked refined and well put together. How she acquired such a sophisticated air despite growing up in a small town in upstate New York remained a mystery to me. "Mom, I can carry it myself. It's not that much." But to not use a service that's provided. Mother's face showed slight disappointment. "Linda's right, Martha. It's best to do things yourself when you can," my father Thomas interjected. He was a retired high school teacher who preferred a simple, straightforward life. That is, except for what Mother called special occasions. This trip was one of them. "Oh, Tom, this trip is special. It's our first family vacation in a long time. Hey, everyone. I've finished checking in," my sister Amy said, returning from the front desk in an elegant pantsuit. She works as an investment analyst in New York. Perfect hair, sophisticated fashion, and confident speech, she always commanded attention. "I've arranged 2 rooms, a lake view room for Linda and Olivia, and a suite for me and our parents." "Amy, thank you. But such a luxurious suite." "It's fine. We deserve to treat ourselves once in a while," Amy said casually. Her annual income must be more than triple mine. As we entered the elevator, Olivia nestled close to Amy. "Aunt Amy, what's New York like? Are there lots of tall buildings?" "Yes, Olivia. You should definitely come visit sometime. I'll show you all the sights." "That would be great. Mom, can I go?" I smiled and nodded. "Of course. Perhaps during summer vacation. Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home?" That's exactly what I did with Reddit stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious. When we reached our room, Olivia immediately jumped on the bed, exclaiming, "So fluffy!" The view from the window was breathtaking, with the setting sun turning the lake surface golden. "After you unpack, let's meet in the restaurant downstairs," Mother said. "Let's meet in the lobby at 6:30. When we were alone in the room, Olivia asked in a more subdued voice, "Couldn't Dad really come?" As I gently stroked her hair, I answered, "No. He had an important business trip. But he promised he'd join us next time." In reality, James's message had been, "Kurt, got work. Can't make it." Though we'd been separated for a year and were in the middle of divorce mediation, we maintained a friendly facade in front of Olivia, but in truth, we barely spoke to each other. "Let's get ready. Grandma and everyone are waiting." When we came down to the lobby, my parents and Amy were already waiting. Mother had changed into a beautiful dress, and Father had put on a jacket. Amy had also changed into a festive blouse, making my simple dress suddenly feel out of place. "Linda, didn't you buy any new clothes for this trip?" Mother whispered. "Mom, this is fine." "Well, that's just like you." At the restaurant, my parents reminisced about past family vacations, our adventures at campgrounds when Amy and I were children, sunburns at the beach, sheltering from rain in mountain cabins. Those memories were warm and nostalgic. "Olivia, Grandma made this sweater for you. Wear it when it gets cold." Martha took out a blue sweater from her bag. "Wow, thank you, Grandma." Olivia happily accepted the sweater. Father turned to Olivia and said in a mysterious voice, "There's a legend that mountain spirits live around here. Sometimes, if you look out the window at night, you might see lights dancing across the lake." Olivia's eyes sparkled. "Really? I want to see them." Dinner was luxurious. Amy talked about her recent successes at work in New York, and our parents listened proudly. "Last month we landed a major client, and the whole team got bonuses. That's wonderful, Amy. We're always so proud of you, Mother said emotionally. Father laughed. The financial genius of our family. How are things as a nurse, Linda? Busy, I imagine? Amy asked, turning to me. Yes, quite. The emergency department was short-staffed last month, which was challenging. But seeing patients recover gives me a sense of purpose. That sounds difficult. But someone has to do that kind of work, I suppose. Mother's response was measured. Linda is kind and dedicated, which makes her well-suited to nursing, Father said. Though meant as a compliment, it somehow felt like it contained a comparison, unlike Amy. Olivia sat between her grandparents, enjoying her meal happily. Seeing her smile made my discomfort seem trivial. After dinner, Olivia fell asleep quickly, exhausted from the long day. After she settled down, I stepped out onto the balcony to gaze at the star-filled sky. The mountain air was crisp, and the stars shone more brightly than they ever could in the city. Family time should be enjoyable, but I felt uncomfortable. I found myself thinking about the lifelong comparisons with my sister, and the gap between my parents' expectations and reality. Still, I tried to convince myself, it's probably all in my head. When the morning sun streamed through the window, bathing the room in golden light, Olivia was still asleep. I slipped quietly out of bed and onto the balcony. Through the morning mist, the lake surface gleamed like glass. Taking a deep breath, the clean, pine-scented air filled my lungs. I told myself that this family vacation in such beautiful surroundings would surely create good memories. At the breakfast buffet, my parents and Amy were already at the table. Good morning, Linda. Did you sleep well? Father looked up from his newspaper. Yes, very well. Olivia seems to be enjoying it too. Where is Olivia? Mother looked around. She's getting dressed. She should be here soon. Amy sipped her coffee while frequently checking her smartphone. A slight frown creased her brow. Was something bothering her? Important work? I asked lightly. Yes, something like that, Amy answered briefly before focusing on her screen again. When Olivia appeared, she lacked her usual energy and seemed somewhat downcast. Good morning, honey. How are you feeling? Good morning, Mom, Olivia replied in a small voice. Her shoulders were more hunched than usual. What's wrong? I asked, concerned. Nothing. Just a little tired. Mother placed orange juice in front of Olivia and said, We're going hiking in the mountains today. The views will be beautiful. Olivia smiled faintly, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Where had yesterday's excitement gone? After breakfast, we joined a guided hike offered by the resort. As we climbed a gentle slope, the guide explained about local plants and animals. Olivia, who would normally bombard people with questions, just walked quietly today. While drinking water at a rest point, Amy's phone rang. She immediately moved to a distance and continued her conversation in hushed tones. My parents didn't seem particularly concerned and just enjoyed the scenery. Though puzzled, I assumed it was a business call. However, when Amy returned, her expression showed tension. Important business? I asked again. Yes, something like that. Don't worry, Amy waved her hand dismissively and changed the subject. The forest here is truly beautiful. During the hike, Amy stepped away to take calls at least 3 times. Each time she returned, she seemed to exchange quick glances with our parents. Or was that my imagination? After lunch, Amy stood up saying, I have a spa appointment, so I'll leave now. Want to come along, Linda? She made a perfunctory invitation but was already standing. No, I'll stay with Mom and Dad. After Amy left, Mother said, That girl is always so busy. She seems especially busy lately, I remarked. She's getting a lot of calls. She always has important work, Mother said proudly. I hear she's highly regarded on Wall Street. I sighed quietly. Mother's words always contained praise for my sister. That hadn't changed since childhood. Amy was the promising daughter, and I was the ordinary daughter. Even as adults, those roles remained unchanged. In the afternoon, my parents enjoyed reading time in the lobby. Olivia had brought a book too, and was quietly reading on a sofa near her grandparents. I was concerned about her. Are you having fun? I asked, sitting beside her on the sofa. Olivia looked up from her book and smiled. But her smile was different from her usual one. Yes. Is something bothering you? No, nothing's wrong. She returned to her book. This story is interesting. In the evening, we gathered at the restaurant again. Amy had returned from the spa and was in an unusually good mood. Everyone, I have good news. She raised her wine glass. Tomorrow will be a special day. Oh, that sounds exciting, Father responded happily. Mother nodded too. Yes, it will be a very special day. What's happening? I asked, puzzled. I wasn't aware of any special event planned for the family vacation. It's a surprise, Mother grinned. You'll find out tomorrow. The conversation continued with an unnaturally cheerful tone. Amy shared amusing work stories, and our parents recounted one memory after another. Everyone was laughing, and though I maintained a smile on the surface, something felt off. Olivia barely participated in the conversation, eating her meal quietly. After dessert, we have some adult matters to discuss, Father said toward the end of the meal. Linda, would you mind going back to the room with Olivia? What kind of discussion? I'd like to hear too. Just business talk, Mother answered quickly. We just want to hear Amy's investment advice. It would be boring for you. Yes, Amy added. Besides, Olivia looks tired. I looked at my daughter. She did look tired, but there was something else in her eyes too. Anxiety of some kind. All right, I reluctantly agreed. Good night then. On the way back to our room, Olivia quietly asked, Mom, are you okay? Yes, of course. Why? Nothing, she answered softly. Once in the room, Olivia immediately changed into her pajamas and got into bed. Usually she would ask me to read her a picture book, but tonight she just said she was sleepy. After she fell asleep, I thought while taking a shower. Something was off with the family, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly what was different. Was it just the distance that comes with adulthood or something else? Amy's frequent phone calls, my parents' subtle exchanges of glances, and Olivia's unsettled behavior. Everything seemed to suggest something. When I emerged from the shower unexpectedly, Olivia was awake on the bed. She was staring out the window into the darkness. Olivia? You're still awake. She slowly turned toward me. In the moonlight, her face showed a mixture of fear and determination. Mom, something scary is happening. What happened? I sat down beside her. I can't say, but she faltered. I want to protect Mom. Protect me? From what? Olivia didn't answer. She looked out the window again inside. Tomorrow, be careful. I hugged my daughter. I could feel her small body trembling. Olivia's anxious words wouldn't leave my mind. I want to protect Mom. Protect me from what? Even after she fell asleep, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. From outside the window came only the sound of the wind and occasional calls of nocturnal animals. The clock hands passed midnight, then pointed to 1. Even with my eyes closed, sleep wouldn't come instead. Questions arose one after another. Amy's suspicious calls, my parents' subtle exchanges of glances, Olivia's sudden change in attitude. Everything seemed like a portent of something. I finally fell asleep around 2 a.m., but that sleep didn't last long. I woke to a small rustling sound. Looking at the clock, it showed 2:15 a.m. At first I thought it might be an echo from a dream, but then I heard the same sound again. I sat up in bed and looked around in the darkness. Moonlight filtered through the gap in the curtains, dimly illuminating the room. In that light, I could see Olivia getting up from her bed. She was moving very quietly, but seemed fully awake. Olivia? I called softly. What's wrong? She froze momentarily. Then, slowly turned toward me. Her face showed unmistakable fear, even in the moonlight. Mom. Her voice trembled. You're awake? Yes, I couldn't sleep well. What about you? What's wrong? Olivia glanced toward the window, then quickly walked to my bed. Shoo! She put her finger to her lips. Speak quietly. Her serious demeanor made me lower my voice too. What happened? Olivia grabbed my arm. Her small hand was trembling. Mom, hide in the closet, quick. She whispered in my ear. What? Why? I was confused. What's happening? Please, don't ask questions. Her eyes were moist with tears. Hurry. Olivia, did something frighten you? Did someone threaten you? She shook her head. There's no time to explain. Please, Mom. Trust me. The fear and pleading in my daughter's face made me swallow my questions. Something was happening. Her fear was real. Maternal instinct told me to trust my daughter. All right. I got out of bed and took her hand. Let's hide together. No, Olivia said with surprising firmness. I'll be fine. Only you need to hide. But, please, her eyes were dead serious. Trust me. Children's intuition is sometimes sharper than adults. From my experience as a nurse, I knew the importance of intuition in crisis situations. There was no time for logical thinking. All right. I headed for the closet. Fortunately, this hotel room had a large walk-in closet containing thick bathrobes and spare blankets. When I entered, Olivia closed the door. It wasn't complete darkness. Moonlight filtered slightly through the door gap. Inside the closet, I listened intently. I could hear Olivia's footsteps. She seemed to have returned to her bed. Then silence fell over the room. Only the ticking of the clock announced the passage of time in this strange situation. I peeked through the gap in the door. Olivia was in bed, covered with a blanket, seemingly trembling. She looked toward the window, then quickly closed her eyes, as if expecting something, or someone to come. 1 minute, 2 minutes, time passed. Everything was quiet. Maybe Olivia had just had a nightmare, or perhaps it was fear created by a child's imagination. Just as I was beginning to think this, suddenly, the lock on the room door clicked open. I held my breath. My heart began to pound fiercely, and I could hear my blood pulsing in my ears. Someone was entering the room. Hotel staff wouldn't enter without notice, especially in the middle of the night. The door opened slowly, and the hallway lights spilled into the room. Then 3 shadows slipped into the room. Mother, father, and Amy. They entered quietly, almost like intruders. When the door closed, Amy said in a low voice, "Don't turn on the lights. The moonlight is enough." My heart pounded even harder. What was happening? Why were they sneaking into my room in the middle of the night? And how did Olivia know? "Linda's asleep, right?" Mother's voice was lower and colder than usual. "Yes," father responded in a whisper. "According to plan." Plan? What plan? Amy stepped forward. She was holding something in her hand. Reflecting in the moonlight, it had a metallic gleam. It looked like a syringe. Fear froze my body. Was this a nightmare? No, this was reality. My family was plotting something. Olivia's warning echoed in my head. "I want to protect Mom." Amy approached Olivia's bed. "Olivia, are you awake?" She called in a gentle voice. Her tone had the usual friendliness, but the syringe in her hand showed that the kindness was false. Olivia emerged from under the blanket. "I'm awake." Her voice was small and trembling. "Where's your mother?" Father asked, looking around the bed. "She's taking a shower," Olivia lied. There was fear in her voice, but it was steady. "A shower?" Mother expressed disbelief. "At this hour?" "Mom woke up and said she wanted to take a shower," Olivia continued. "About 10 minutes ago." Mother looked toward the bathroom. "I don't hear any water running." "Maybe she's finished," Olivia added to her lie. "No lying," Mother said in a cold voice. "I know there's no one in the bathroom." Amy moved closer to Olivia. "If you don't tell us, I'll have to use this." She showed the syringe in her hand. It gleamed coldly in the moonlight. "Aunt Amy." Olivia's voice trembled. "Why?" "It's for your own good, Olivia." Amy's voice was sweet, yet spine-chillingly cold. "We don't intend to hurt anyone. Just make you sleep a little." "What are you going to do to Mom?" Anger mixed into Olivia's voice. She was clutching the blanket tightly. "You don't need to worry," Father said. "We just want to talk to her." "That's a lie." Olivia shouted. "I heard you yesterday. You all were planning to be quiet," Mother said harshly. "Enough." "Where is Linda?" In the closet, I was trembling with fear and anger. My family was threatening my daughter, and they were planning to do something to me. My heart constricted at Olivia's courage. Enough was enough. I flung open the closet door. "What are you doing?" The 3 turned around in surprise. Amy still held the syringe. "Linda." Mother's voice mixed surprise and anger. "The plan is ruined," she said coldly. Her voice lacked any warmth I had known from my mother. A heavy silence spread through the room. In the moonlight, various emotions played across the 3 faces. Anger on Mother's face, confusion on Father's face, and on Amy's face, calculating calmness. She still held the syringe. Put it down. I directed my gaze at Amy's hand. That syringe. Linda, calm down. Father stepped forward. This is for your own good. My own good. Anger welled up. Threatening my daughter sneaking in at midnight, this is for my own good? Olivia jumped off the bed and ran to me. I embraced her as I faced the three. Explain, I said as calmly as possible. What plan? Why are you doing this? You don't need to know the details, Mother said. Amy, hurry. Amy, still holding the syringe, took a step closer. I instinctively shielded Olivia behind me. You know about James, don't you? Amy suddenly asked. What? About James and our relationship? Confusion clouded my mind. What do you mean? Amy smirked. Your precious husband and I have been together for over a year. What are you saying? Words caught in my throat. Hard to believe. Amy's tone was provocative. But it's true. James was attracted to me from the start. He said marrying you was just a mistake. My head spun. James and I had indeed grown apart. We'd been separated for a year but hadn't finalized the divorce. I thought that was, for Olivia's sake. That's a lie, I said with a trembling voice. It's not a lie, Mother interjected. Amy and James are a perfect match. Amy is more suitable for him than you. Those words cut through my heart like a knife. My own mother knew about my sister's affair with my husband. Not only knew but supported it. Dad, did you know too? Father averted his eyes slightly but nodded. James is a good man. He understands family business. He and Amy would make a promising couple. Everything started to connect. This family vacation, the unnatural attitudes of my parents and Amy, the secret conversations. And this syringe? I asked with a trembling voice. Amy laughed cruelly. It's a simple plan. While you're sleeping, inject you with a sleeping drug. Then, early tomorrow morning, pretending to go hiking. You were planning to push me off a cliff, I continued, making it look like an accident. You're smart, Amy said sarcastically, but your cleverness ends tonight. Why? I was speechless at this unbelievable reality. Why try to kill me? Custody of Olivia, Mother answered. James wants custody of Olivia. But as long as you're alive, if he fights in court, it would be difficult for him to get full custody. And if James and I get married, Amy continued, we can raise her. You're just in the way. Horror and anger mixed together. They were trying to take my life. To take my daughter. Is money involved too? I asked, feigning calmness, while gradually moving toward the emergency button. Ah, that's part of it too, Father said. James's life insurance. He has a substantial policy. You're the beneficiary, but if you're gone, Olivia would receive it, I continued. And as her guardians, you would manage it. That's right, Amy laughed coldly. I admit you're smart. But that ends tonight. You were really going to kill me? My voice trembled at the unbelievable reality. Your own daughter, your sister, just put you to sleep and make you fall from the mountain, Amy said without emotion. You wouldn't feel any pain. Olivia suddenly spoke up from behind me. I overheard Aunt Amy and Grandpa talking yesterday. All eyes turned to Olivia. They were talking at the bar. Olivia continued with a trembling voice. They said they would push Mom off the mountain, and that Dad and Aunt Amy would get married and raise me. Her small body trembled with anger. I'll never forgive you. Don't hurt my mom. Be quiet, Olivia, Mother said harshly. Children shouldn't interfere in adult matters. You're bad people, Olivia shouted. You're not real family. Father stepped forward. Enough. We don't have time. Amy, hurry. Amy approached with the syringe ready. I stood protectively in front of Olivia. The room had only one exit. No way to escape. Even if I called for help from the window, my voice wouldn't reach from this height. Just one option. I moved quickly. As Amy extended her arm, I grabbed the lamp from the bedside table and threw it at her. The lamp hit Amy's shoulder, and she grimaced in pain. Taking that opportunity, I rushed to the wall and pressed the hotel's emergency button hard. A red light flashed, and a piercing alarm sounded throughout the room. What did you? Mother screamed. This is the end. I said with a shaking voice. Your plan and this false family relationship. There was a knock at the door from the hallway. Security. Is everything all right? Amy quickly hid the syringe in her pocket. Father and mother looked at each other, panicking. Please come in, I shouted loudly. Help us. The door opened, and 2 men in uniforms entered the room. What happened? One asked. Hugging Olivia, I said with a trembling voice. These people were trying to kill me. The other security staff looked at Amy. What did you hide in your pocket? Amy stood pale-faced, unable to say anything. Please call the police, I said. I'll explain everything. Outside the window, the first light of dawn had begun to illuminate the mountain ridge line. The long night was finally coming to an end. 1 year has passed since that night. In a small town in western Massachusetts called Berkshire, Olivia and I had started a new life. Our small bungalow surrounded by trees was much more modest than our previous home, but it was full of warmth and security. Above all, there were no false affections or betrayals here. Mom, look. I passed. Olivia showed me her test paper as soon as she returned from school. That's wonderful. I hugged her. How about pizza tonight to celebrate? Olivia's smile had become brighter and more natural than before. Since starting psychological counseling, she had been gradually recovering. She woke up less frequently from frightening dreams at night and had begun to make new friends. The trial was long and painful. With the evidence gathered, Amy, Martha, Thomas, and James were all found guilty. Surprisingly, during the investigation, it was discovered that James had made similar plans in the past. His previous fiancée had nearly died in an accident. He received the heaviest sentence. Amy became mentally unstable and was transferred to a treatment facility within the prison. I heard rumors that mother and father, betrayed by James, were suffering from heavy regret. Amy reportedly continued to refuse visits from her parents. The family bonds built on falsehood had completely collapsed. I changed workplaces and now work as a counselor specializing in family support for patients at a local hospital. I believe that my experience as a nurse and my own trauma could help heal the wounds of others. Linda, will you join us for dinner tomorrow? The Johnsons, who live nearby, called over the garden fence. I'd love to, I answered with a smile. Robert and Margaret Johnson had been kind to us since we moved to this town. In their 70s with no children, they doted on Olivia like a granddaughter. Olivia, I'll bake cookies for you, Margaret said gently. Back at home, Olivia was working on her homework. I stood in the kitchen and began preparing dinner. The setting sun streaming through the window bathed the room in a soft orange glow. Mom, Olivia suddenly said, we're happy, aren't we? I paused and looked at her. Yes, we are. Why do you ask? I sometimes think about it, she said, twirling her pencil. What makes a real family? I sat at the table and took my daughter's hand. It's not blood ties, I said slowly. It's trust and love. Caring for each other and protecting one another. Olivia nodded. The Johnsons, the people at the hospital, they're all like our family. Yes, I smiled. We've chosen our own family. That night, after Olivia went to sleep, I went out to the porch and looked up at the starry sky. The Berkshire night sky was filled with stars that couldn't be seen in the city. Though we've been deeply wounded, we continue to move forward. Even if memories of the past sometimes bring pain, new memories gradually ease that pain. What is a true family? It's not bound by blood or obligation, but by choice and love. In this small town, we found a new family, our neighbors, colleagues, and most of all, in each other. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the fresh night air. Tomorrow, another new day begins. Perhaps our story is just truly beginning from here. My boss fired me after I interviewed with other companies, even though she had denied me a raise for 3 consecutive years. I consider this disloyal, she said, revoking my building access on the spot. I smiled, wished her well, and left without causing a scene. 3 days later, she received an email from, I consider this disloyal, Victoria said, her voice like ice as she stared at me from behind her imposing mahogany desk. After everything Harbor Point Communications has done for you. I sat across from her, clutching my purse tightly to stop my hands from shaking. The shock of being called into her office at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday had worn off, replaced by a heavy knot in my stomach as I realized what was happening. Victoria, I know. She cut me off. her perfectly manicured nail tapping on a printed email. "Don't bother denying it. I have confirmation you interviewed with North Bay Solutions last Thursday. You took a half day for a dental appointment, I believe. My name is Addison Walker. I'm 31 years old and have dedicated 6 years of my professional life to Harbor Point Communications here in Spokane, Washington. In those 6 years, I've tripled my client portfolio, brought in millions in revenue, and earned the respect of every major account in our roster. But apparently, none of that mattered now. Security will meet you at your desk. You can collect your personal belongings, but your building access is revoked immediately." Victoria's voice was emotionless as she slid my company ID across her desk. "I've already disabled your email access." The injustice of it burned in my chest. 3 years. 3 consecutive years, I'd come to the same office with meticulously prepared presentations showing my achievements, market rate salary comparisons, and requests for a well-deserved raise. 3 years of tough budget year excuses while Victoria announced record profits at quarterly meetings. I took a deep breath and stood up, straightening my blazer. "I understand." Victoria looked almost disappointed by my calm response. Perhaps she'd expected tears or pleading. Instead, I extended my hand across the desk. "I wish you and Harbor Point continued success," I said, my voice steady despite the emotional turmoil inside. She hesitated before briefly shaking my hand, confusion flickering across her face. As the security guard hovered awkwardly by my desk while I packed my family photos and 6 years of desk plants into a cardboard box, I felt surprisingly calm. Colleagues shot concerned glances my way, but I smiled reassuringly at them. No drama, no scenes, just dignity. Walking out of those glass doors for the last time, the April sunshine warm on my face, I realized something important. Victoria thought she was punishing me. She couldn't have been more wrong. As I placed the box in my car trunk, my phone buzzed with a message from David Klein, CEO of North Bay Solutions. "Can we move our final discussion to today, 2 p.m.? I smiled. Victoria had no idea what was coming. It's funny how 6 years of your life can fit into a single cardboard box. As I drove home from Harbor Point, the box secure in my trunk, I reflected on everything that had led to this moment. I joined the company fresh out of graduate school, eager and determined. Despite my marketing degree from Washington State University, I'd started in an entry-level position, making coffee runs and organizing meeting notes. But I worked tirelessly, staying late, volunteering for the difficult projects nobody wanted, and building relationships with clients who others had written off as too demanding. Within 2 years, I was handling our mid-tier accounts. By year 4, I'd been entrusted with North Bay Solutions, our largest client worth nearly 30% of Harbor Point's annual revenue. David Klein, North Bay's CEO, specifically requested me as their account manager after I'd stepped in during a crisis when their previous representative dropped the ball. "You're the only one who seems to understand what we need before we even ask," he told me. From then on, the relationship between our companies flourished, with North Bay extending their contract and doubling their marketing budget with us. Victoria had been pleased then. "This is the kind of initiative we value," she'd said, though that value never translated to my compensation. My first request for a raise came after that success, armed with performance metrics and revenue numbers that spoke for themselves. "It's just not in the budget this year," Victoria had explained with a rehearsed look of regret. "But your contribution is noted." I accepted it then. The economy had been uncertain, and I was still building my portfolio. But the following year, after bringing in 3 new major clients and receiving an industry award for a campaign I'd designed, the same answer came. "Next year will be better," she promised. "We just need to tighten our belts a little longer." Meanwhile, Victoria drove to work in a new luxury SUV, and the company leased an additional floor in our building for expansion. Still, I remained loyal, believing that dedication would eventually be rewarded. The third denial came 6 months ago, right after I'd successfully negotiated a 40% increase in North Bay's annual contract value. "Your performance is exceptional," Victoria had said, "but we're investing in infrastructure this year. Perhaps we can revisit this in the summer." Something in me had finally broken. That night, I updated my resume for the first time in 6 years. Not out of anger or revenge, but out of self-respect. I was worth more than constant promises and perpetual denial. I just never expected Victoria would discover my job search before I was ready to give my notice. At home, I set the cardboard box on my kitchen counter and stared at it. The reality of what had just happened finally hitting me. I wasn't just between meetings or taking a day off. I was unemployed. The weight of it pressed against my chest, momentarily making it difficult to breathe. My phone rang, displaying my best friend Olivia's name. "I just heard," she said when I answered. "Thomas texted me. Are you okay?" Thomas was Harbor Point's IT specialist and Olivia's boyfriend. News traveled fast. "I'm processing," I replied honestly, sinking onto a kitchen stool. "It happened so quickly. It's completely unfair," Olivia said, her voice rising with indignation. "Everyone knows you're the only reason North Bay has stayed with Harbor Point this long. Victoria's just intimidated because you're better at the job than she ever was." There was some truth to that. Victoria had been the company's star account executive before moving into management. Many of us suspected she missed the recognition and client relationships, often inserting herself unnecessarily into my meetings with North Bay. "The worst part is how she did it," I said, feeling a flash of anger. Like I'd committed some kind of corporate treason by looking for opportunities after being denied advancement for 3 years straight. "It's her loss," Olivia replied firmly. "And honestly, Addison, maybe it's for the best. You've been undervalued there for years." She was right, of course. I'd stayed at Harbor Point out of loyalty to my clients and colleagues, not because it was the best choice for my career, but getting fired like this, escorted out by security as if I were a criminal, that stung deeply. My phone beeped with an incoming call. David Klein. "Olivia, I need to take this. It's North Bay." "Go. Take it. Call me after," she said before hanging up. I took a deep breath and answered. "Addison, I just heard what happened at Harbor Point," David said, skipping pleasantries. "Are you available to come in today? I'd like to accelerate our conversation." My heart raced. "Yes. I can be there at 2 p.m. as you suggested." "Excellent. And Addison, don't worry about what happened this morning. Sometimes these things have a way of working out for the best." After hanging up, I stared at my reflection in the kitchen window. The woman looking back at me wasn't defeated. She was being set free. I showered and changed into my best suit, the one I reserved for pitching new clients. As I applied my makeup, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Victoria thought she had punished me by firing me so abruptly, but perhaps she had done me a favor. That morning had been humiliating, but it had also been clarifying. I had given Harbor Point my loyalty, creativity, and countless unpaid overtime hours. In return, I'd been undervalued and discarded. Whatever happened next, I knew one thing for certain. I would never again give my best to people who couldn't see my worth. It was time to step into my power. The North Bay Solutions headquarters occupied the top 3 floors of a gleaming glass building in downtown Spokane. Unlike Harbor Point's dated office with its beige walls and aging furniture, North Bay embraced modern design. Open spaces, collaborative pods, and walls of windows showcasing mountain views. As I rode the elevator to the 30th floor, I mentally rehearsed what I would say in my interview. I'd need to explain my sudden availability without sounding bitter about Harbor Point. Professionalism was key even when discussing uncomfortable situations. The elevator doors opened to reveal David Klein himself waiting in the reception area. "Addison," he greeted me warmly, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." David was in his early 50s with salt and pepper hair and a reputation for being both brilliant and fair, qualities I'd come to appreciate during our 3 years of working together. "I appreciate the flexibility," I replied, shaking his hand firmly. "It's been an unexpected day. Let's talk in my office," he said, leading me through the bustling workspace. Several North Bay employees I knew from our account work waved or nodded as we passed. David's corner office was modest compared to Victoria's showpiece, but infinitely more welcoming with comfortable seating arranged for conversation rather than intimidation. "Coffee?" he offered, "Please." Once we were settled with steaming mugs, David got straight to the point. "I received a call from Victoria Sanders this morning," he began. "She informed me that you would no longer be handling the North Bay account, and that she would personally oversee our business until a replacement was assigned." I nodded, keeping my expression neutral despite the small flare of anger. Of course, Victoria would try to retain their biggest client herself. "What she doesn't know," David continued, "is that we were already concerned about our relationship with Harbor Point. This surprised me. Concerned? The latest campaign results exceeded projections by 23%. The results were excellent, he agreed, because of your work. But we've noticed changes at Harbor Point over the past year. Delayed responses, quality issues with anyone except you, and frankly, a sense that they're taking our business for granted. He set down his coffee mug and leaned forward. 3 months ago, our board suggested we explore other marketing partners. I resisted because of our relationship with you. You've consistently demonstrated an understanding of our brand and business needs that goes beyond the typical client-agency relationship. My mind raced. Was he saying what I thought he was saying? When you reached out about potential opportunities here, David continued, it felt like perfect timing. But I need to be clear about something. We were never planning to poach you. We respect professional boundaries too much for that. We were prepared to wait until you gave proper notice at Harbor Point. I was planning to give 2 weeks' notice, I said, feeling it was important he knew that. Once I had a firm offer. David smiled. I believe you. Your professionalism is one of the reasons we're having this conversation. Victoria's decision this morning simply accelerated our timeline. He opened a folder on his desk and slid a document across to me. This isn't an interview, Addison. It's a job offer. Director of Client Strategy. You'd be building and leading a team to manage all our external marketing partnerships and agency relationships. I glanced down at the paper, and my breath caught when I saw the salary figure. It was nearly double what I'd been making at Harbor Point, more than I would have even asked for in my most recent denied raise request. This is very generous, I managed. It's market rate for someone with your experience and proven results, David corrected. Sometimes it takes leaving a situation to realize what you're truly worth. The offer letter sat on my kitchen table that evening, signed and ready to be returned tomorrow. I'd asked David for the night to review everything, though we both knew my answer would be yes. Still, taking time to consider major decisions was a professional courtesy I extended even when the answer seemed obvious. My phone had been buzzing all afternoon with texts from former colleagues at Harbor Point. Word of my firing had spread quickly, followed by rumors about my meeting at North Bay. I'd responded to a few close coworkers, but avoided getting drawn into office gossip. A text from Thomas came through. Victoria called an emergency meeting after you left, told everyone you were terminated for breach of company loyalty, and that we should all remember that Harbor Point rewards loyalty above all. The irony wasn't lost on anybody. I shook my head. Victoria was trying to make an example of me. But from Thomas's message, it seemed her approach might be backfiring. Another text arrived. This one from Jessica, our receptionist. She's been locked in her office making calls all afternoon. Looks stressed. Guess someone's worried about North Bay. I didn't respond. There was no satisfaction in Victoria's distress, only a renewed certainty that I'd made the right decision to look elsewhere. A company culture that valued loyalty but offered nothing in return wasn't one I wanted to be part of anymore. My phone rang, an unknown number. Curious, I answered. Addison Walker? A woman's voice asked. Speaking. This is Elaine Winters. I'm on the board at Harbor Point Communications. My stomach tightened. Board members rarely involve themselves with employee matters. I understand there was an incident today regarding your employment, she continued. I'd like to meet with you tomorrow to discuss it. Victoria may have been hasty in her decision. So that was it. Victoria had fired her most valuable account manager without board approval, and now North Bay was potentially walking. Damage control. I appreciate the calm, Miss Winters, but I've already accepted another position, I said, keeping my tone respectful but firm. A pause. May I ask where? I don't think that would be appropriate to share at this time. Another longer pause. Addison, if this is about compensation, I'm sure we can revisit those conversations. The board values your contribution to Harbor Point. The irony was almost painful. 3 years of documented rejected requests for appropriate compensation. And now, suddenly, the board valued my contribution. It's not just about compensation, I replied honestly. It's about respect and recognizing employee worth before they have one foot out the door. Perhaps we should discuss this in person, she pressed. Tomorrow morning, I thought about it. While I had no intention of returning to Harbor Point, there was something to be said for professional closure. I can meet at 9 a.m., I agreed. But, to be clear, I've signed an employment contract elsewhere. I'm not coming to negotiate a return. Understood, Elaine said, though her tone suggested she didn't believe me. I'll see you tomorrow at our offices. After hanging up, I poured myself a glass of wine and stepped onto my apartment balcony. The spring evening was cool but pleasant, the city lights beginning to twinkle as dusk settled. Tomorrow would bring a conversation I hadn't anticipated having, but perhaps it was necessary. A chance to articulate what had gone wrong at Harbor Point. Not just for my own closure, but as feedback that might benefit those who remained. My phone buzzed with an email notification from David Klein, subject line. Welcome to the team. Whatever happened tomorrow, I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't looking back. The Harbor Point reception area felt strange to enter as a visitor. Jessica's eyes widened when she saw me, her professional smile faltering. Addison? You're here for the meeting with Miss Winters? That's right, I confirmed, signing the visitor log. Another surreal moment. I'll let her know you've arrived, Jessica said, then lowered her voice. For what it's worth, everyone's talking about how wrong this was. You were the best of us. Her words warmed me. Thank you, Jessica. The elevator ride to the conference room gave me a moment to center myself. I had dressed professionally in a navy suit, not to impress, but to remind myself and everyone else that I was approaching this meeting as an equal, not as a dismissed employee seeking redemption. Elaine Winters was already waiting when I arrived, a slim folder in front of her. In her 60s with silver hair cut in a precise bob, she had the poised confidence of someone used to making million-dollar decisions before breakfast. Miss Walker? Thank you for coming, she said, standing to shake my hand. Please, have a seat. I expected Victoria to join us. But as Elaine closed the door, it became clear this would be a private conversation. I've reviewed your personnel file. Elaine began opening the folder. 6 years of excellent performance reviews, consistent growth in your account portfolio, and 3 formal requests for salary adjustment, all denied. She looked up at me. I was not aware of this pattern. This surprised me. I assumed compensation decisions were reviewed at the board level. Major compensation changes, yes, but management has discretion within certain parameters? Elaine's expression remained neutral, but her tone suggested disapproval. Victoria has been operating with significant autonomy. I see. What I don't see, she continued, is documentation justifying your termination yesterday. There's no company policy prohibiting interviews with other organizations. I kept my response measured. The word used was disloyal. Elaine's eyebrow arched slightly. An interesting choice given the circumstances. She closed the folder. Miss Walker, I'll be direct. The board would like to offer you reinstatement with the adjusted compensation you requested in your last review, plus a 10% increase, and the title of Senior Account Director. The offer was better than anything Victoria had been willing to consider, but it came 3 years, and 1 humiliating dismissal too late. That's a generous offer, I acknowledged. But as I mentioned on the phone, I've already accepted a position elsewhere. At North Bay Solutions, Elaine stated, not asking. I didn't confirm or deny maintaining professional boundaries. My new role begins Monday. Elaine studied me for a moment. Victoria is concerned North Bay may reconsider their relationship with Harbor Point given your departure. And there it was. The real reason for this meeting. Not concern for how I'd been treated, but fear of losing a major client. That would be a question for North Bay, I replied carefully. Indeed. Elaine nodded, seeming to appreciate my discretion. One last question, if I may. What could Harbor Point have done differently to retain you? The question was unexpected, but welcome. I took a moment to consider my response. Recognize my value before I had to look elsewhere to find it, I said simply. Loyalty works both ways, Miss Winters. Harbor Point expected unwavering commitment while repeatedly demonstrating I wasn't worth investing in. That creates an unsustainable imbalance. Elaine nodded thoughtfully. A fair assessment. She stood, extending her hand. Thank you for your candor. Whatever your next steps, I wish you success. Walking out of Harbor Point for the second and final time, I felt lighter than I had in years. This meeting hadn't been about giving me a second chance. It had been about giving me a chance to reclaim my narrative, to leave on my terms with my dignity and professional reputation intact. I'd been granted an unexpected gift. Closure. Monday morning arrived with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. My new position at North Bay Solutions officially began today, and with it, a fresh chapter in my professional life. I arrived early, eager to settle into my new office, a real office with a door and windows, not the cramped cubicle I'd occupied at Harbor Point despite my senior role. David had arranged for everything to be ready, including a welcome basket and technology setup. At 9 a.m., he stopped by to introduce me to my new team, 5 talented marketing specialists who would be working under my direction to manage North Bay's various agency relationships. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd gone from managing a single account to overseeing all marketing partnerships, including whoever would now handle the Harbor Point relationship. Team, this is Addison Walker, our new Director of Client Strategy, David announced. Many of you already know her from her exceptional work at Harbor Point Communications. We're fortunate to have her expertise in-house now. After introductions and a brief team meeting to outline priorities, David asked me to join him in the conference room. There, I found several members of North Bay's executive team gathered around the table. Before you dive in completely, David explained, we wanted your input on an important decision. The company's chief financial officer spoke up. In light of recent changes, we're reevaluating our relationship with Harbor Point Communications. Their contract is up for renewal next month. We value your perspective, added the chief marketing officer. You understand our needs and have first-hand knowledge of Harbor Point's capabilities. I could have easily recommended terminating the relationship. A swift, satisfying revenge against Victoria. The opportunity to deal a significant financial blow to Harbor Point was right in front of me. No one would question it. Business relationships ended all the time. But that wasn't who I was. Revenge might feel good momentarily, but professionalism would serve me better in the long run. I think we should evaluate Harbor Point on the same criteria as any other potential partner, I said carefully. Their work has been strong, but consistency and account management will be critical factors to consider moving forward. The email was sent at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, precisely 1 week after Victoria had fired me from Harbor Point. I hadn't orchestrated the timing. It was simply when North Bay's executive team finalized their decision, after reviewing proposals from 3 competing agencies. David had given me the courtesy of seeing the email before it went out, though I had recused myself from the final decision to avoid any appearance of bias or impropriety. The message was professional and direct. After careful consideration of our marketing needs moving forward, North Bay Solutions has decided to transition our account to Meridian Creative, effective immediately. This decision reflects our evolving brand strategy and digital requirements. Addison Walker, our new Director of Client Strategy, will oversee the transition and serve as your point of contact. We appreciate our partnership and request all materials be transferred by end of business Friday. I imagined Victoria's reaction upon receiving the news, the shock, then the dawning realization of what had happened. Not only had she lost me, but now she had lost North Bay, a client representing nearly 30% of Harbor Point's annual revenue, and I would be the one managing the transition. The perfect professional revenge had fallen into my lap without my having to orchestrate it. I hadn't needed to badmouth Harbor Point or sabotage the relationship. The company's own shortcomings, highlighted by my departure, had done that for me. That afternoon, I received a LinkedIn request from Jessica, Harbor Point's receptionist, followed by a private message. The office is chaos. Victoria's been in emergency meetings all day. 3 other account managers have updated their resumes. Karma works fast. I didn't reply immediately. There was no need to gloat or insert myself into Harbor Point's internal affairs. Instead, I focused on building my new team and establishing our processes. Success, after all, was the best revenge. Later, however, I did accept Jessica's connection request with a simple message. Thank you for your kindness during my time at Harbor Point. Wishing you all the best. Taking the high road felt surprisingly good. My new position at North Bay brought challenges and opportunities I would never have experienced had I remained at Harbor Point, waiting for recognition that might never come. Sometimes the best revenge isn't something you actively pursue. It's the natural consequence of valuing yourself when others don't. Looking back on that journey a year later, I realized that Victoria had inadvertently given me a precious gift, the push I needed to find my true worth. In seeking revenge, I found something far more valuable: self-respect and the courage to claim the success I deserved.